Hey guys, do you ever feel like you're spending more time trying to study than actually studying? Or do you feel like the time spent studying is not very effective because you're never able to retain anything? Are you always getting distracted, or is it difficult for you to stay still while trying to study? Needless to say, studying can be very difficult, but what makes it even more difficult is trying to study with ADHD. If you have been diagnosed with ADHD or think you may have it and you find it difficult to study, here are some tips on how to study more efficiently. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, but the tips addressed in today's video are things I personally found helpful or I have observed myself doing. Tip number 1, set your environment. Place yourself in an environment that will help you focus to study. For example, personally, I like to study at a cafe. Something about the aromas, the small chitter chatter, just the environment helps me to stay focused and motivated to learn the material. Some people like to have a quiet environment, so a more ideal location might be a library or your room where you can just shut everything out. Some people like to have a little bit of relaxing music playing or any kind of music playing. So what is important is to know which kind of environment works best for you. Tip number 2 is to change up your studying methods. Studying the same way every time can become very boring and can increase the chance of being distracted. A good way to prevent becoming distracted is to add some changes to your studying methods. For example, if you're constantly studying by reading a textbook, try finding some videos on YouTube about the content that you are studying. Or try having some conversations about the material you're studying with some friends or with someone who is already professional in that area. Personally, I like to study languages, so a great way for me to change my studying methods is to really expose myself to the language. And I do this by watching movies, listening to music, talking with friends, going to restaurants that people speak the language, and also visiting the country of the language that I am learning. So it doesn't matter how you change your studying methods as long as you stay engaged in the material that you are trying to learn. And speaking of staying engaged, tip number 3 is to study with a partner. So working with a partner is great because it forces you to be accountable. It also allows you to feed ideas to each other. It allows you to problem solve, and most importantly, it allows you the ability to work problems out loud. It is important to find a study partner that will not distract you and that can stay focused on the task. Tip number 4 is going to focus on timing. Set time limits and set goals for yourself. This will help you to stay engaged and give yourself a little bit of a break when you really feel like you need one. An example of this would be something like study for 15 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Go back to studying for another 15 minutes, take a 5-minute break. And maybe you want to study for an hour overall, so you just have to do this 4 times. It is also important to set a deadline for yourself, so maybe you could say something like, I want to study before the library closes. I want to study all this material before I leave for vacation. I want to study this material before my favorite movie is going to come out, something like that. Personally, I like to study 15 minutes on, then I take a 5-minute break to wash some dishes, 15 minutes again of studying, and then a 5-minute break to put a load of laundry in, and then 15 minutes and 5-minute break to play with my cat, and then 15 minutes, and then I'm done. And my deadline is usually by Friday, so that way I have the weekend to enjoy and I don't have to worry about doing hard work. Regardless of what you study, you need to know why you study. So my next tip is to set a goal for yourself. It's important to know why you study because this is what determines if you're going to be motivated or not. So for example, I study Japanese and I also study Polish languages, and the why is because I want to be able to communicate with the people from these countries or people who speak these languages. So my goal is to be able to have conversations in these languages. A way for me to measure my progress is to speak with people who speak the language fluently, or I could take the language fluency exams. My 5th tip for studying efficiently is to wear comfortable clothing. I don't know if this is a result of my ADHD or if this is something everyone experiences, but when I wear clothing that is itchy, a little bit too tight, or just doesn't feel good, I cannot focus on anything because I'm constantly thinking about the clothing. I find that it is definitely a lot easier to study when I'm wearing clothing that fits well, loose, comfortable. Usually I'll just wear like a hoodie and some sweatpants. Tip number 6 is to have some snacks. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm studying, I always get the munchies. So I like to bring some snacks just to keep my hands busy, and it allows me to focus my brain on the material that I'm trying to learn. I would recommend to bring healthy or light snacks because if you're eating heavy snacks, they're going to make you feel tired and less focused and motivated. Some of my favorite snacks to have while studying are popcorn, grapes, carrots, and radishes. Also, make sure that your snacks are not messy or distracting. Tip number 7 is to put away all distractions. Turn off your Netflix, put away your game consoles, put your phone away. You don't want to have anything that you could be tempted just to reach for while you're trying to study. I used to struggle a lot with this one with my ADHD because I always wanted to check on what's going on Facebook, what's going on Twitter, TikTok videos. Don't even get me started with TikTok videos. But I just learned that the best way to avoid being distracted is just to have it in another room or put it in my backpack and zip it up. The last tip for today, last but not least, is to consider speaking with your doctor to see if meds are right for you. Everyone has a different approach to ADHD and how they manage their symptoms. Some people feel like they might not need medication, but for some people, not having medication, it might seem impossible to manage their symptoms. And remember, if you do decide to try medication, it's okay. You might even find that it helps increase your productivity. Who knows? The most important thing is for you to decide for yourself what is okay and what is not okay. I hope that you find these ideas useful and that you try them while studying. At the end of the day, we are all just human beings sharing the planet, so don't feel discouraged if you feel like you get stuck. The most important thing is just to have an open mind and allow yourself to grow. Good luck studying, everyone. Bye.